Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Open your textbooks, Kaivalya Upanishad books. We do the Shanti mantra. It's on page 5. Om Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyama Devaah Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryachatraah Sthirairangai Istuštuvagam Sastanubhihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vridhashravah Swasti na Pusha Vishvavedah Swasti nastarkshyo arishtanemihi Swasti no Brihaspati'r dadhatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. At the outset of these 6 days of Kaivalya Upanishad, I would like to invoke the grace and blessings of Param Pujya Gurudev and the entire Guru Parampara, and on the blessings of the Lord be on us for these 6 days. The topic of this Upanishads is not something out of curiosity of mind. The Upanishads are the different forms of our scriptures in the sense that it is very uncommon. We are very familiar when we talk about our scriptures of Bhagavad Gita or the various Puranas or the stories of our gods and goddesses in our culture. This is very common. But very often when someone is told, oh, we are going to study the Upanishads, very often people don't understand what it is or even have never heard of this word. Let's not even go into what it contains, whether people know that or they don't know that. But it is very uncommon knowledge. Everyone has heard about the Vedas and they know, okay, there are Vedas and Vedas is our Hindu scripture. But if we look at it, our scriptures, first of all, are not called Hindu scriptures. They are called Sanatan Dharma. Now, Sanatan Dharma, Sanatan meaning eternal, that which is eternal for a long, long period of time. And anything that is there for a long period of time undergoes change, isn't it? I'm sure none of us were born this size, this shape, definitely not this weight. And as we grow older, as time works on us, we change, isn't it? Everything changes. But we become wiser. At least for others we become wiser. Our wisdom is available for others as we become older. In the same way, Sanatan Dharma is started from a long, long time ago. In fact, it is said it is timeless. Because that which is eternal can only be Sanatan. Right? And that which is timeless, imagine how much wisdom there is in it. But also, because it's been there for so long, there is bound to be change in it. So therefore, in today's world, when we look at our scriptures, we find that these scriptures are presently in the form or commonly known in the form of the Puranas, the stories, the different gods and goddesses, the different temples. This is the representation of that eternal dharma. But what exactly is that eternal dharma? What is its source? That is very often forgotten. It is like if we were to grow old, and in our old age we forget what we were like as a child. It's a real sad thing when you forget whatever was in the past. So this Sanatan Dharma, as what it is today and what it was originally, that is very well kept within our culture, very well preserved. So this is how it works. So we have our Puranas, which are 18 in number, which talk about the stories of the different gods and goddesses. These Puranas were composed and they form what we call the literature called a Smriti. Smriti means that which is composed or remembered. Right? So the Smritis contain these 18 Puranas. Why am I starting with the Puranas? Because that is what we are most familiar with. So all our gods of Sri Rama, of the Vishnu avatar, of Shiva avatar, of Brahmaji, everything. There are 18 different Puranas written by or composed by Bhagwan Vedvyasji, and these Puranas contain all these stories. This is what we are familiar with. Now, along with the Puranas, there are two very familiar and famous literature called the history or Itihas. And that, as we know, is the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. These are the two. So Smritis fall or contain these two, the Puranas and the Itihas. Then we go to what is called the Shruti. Now when we look at Shruti, Shruti is that which was only heard. It is said that sound is eternal. So whatever we speak remains in space, remains in ether. And it takes, like we know, certain frequencies only for us to catch that sound. So when only that sound is within that frequency, we hear it. But if the sound is not within the frequency of the ears, we do not hear it. Just like, for example, at this moment in this room, there are multiple things that are happening, sounds that are happening. Not just the sound of nature, but even the sound in this room, there are immense number of sounds that are playing at this point in time. Do you all agree or not? Really? How many of you can hear any of them? I hope not. But when can we hear them? When we have the right instrument, isn't it? You all know what instrument I'm talking about, right? A radio. So you have a radio here, you plug it in, and suddenly you'll find the sounds that are in this room. Yes or no? So as there is this sound which is pervading throughout this room, same way in this space, there is immense amount of words or knowledge. Just like we require a particular instrument to tune to that knowledge or to that sound, for that sound to be revealed, for that sound to be known, in the same way, in our scriptures, it is said that that which was heard is called Shruti, right? Now, radio is one physical equipment, isn't it? But what about the sounds or that knowledge which was eternal, which is always there? There must be a way to tap into that as well. And what better equipment than our own mind? Because our mind is of infinite potential. Not infinite performance, our performances are pretty limited. But the potential to perform is tremendous, isn't it? It's exponential. You can just do anything with your mind. If only you know how to control it. That's the trick. We don't know how to control it. But such was the power of the great rishis that they had the ability to tune in their mind to that knowledge. And really speaking, the best thing about tuning the mind is not that you have to tune it to a particular frequency, that you have to just silence it. So they reach such levels of silence and calm in their mind that this knowledge which was present was revealed. So it is said that the knowledge of the scriptures or Shruti, which later on got passed on from the teacher to the taught, the parampara of the student to the teacher, that knowledge used to only be communicated through words and through listening. Shravana madhyam, only by listening. And the student was also such great students, this is no expectation on any of the students, that they would remember everything. Everything. Verbatim. And that what they remembered, they contemplated upon. They realized as themselves, they ascertained that knowledge and said, yes, this knowledge, what I heard, what I've been taught is true. And only then they opened their mouth when the fit student arrived. This is how the entire parampara of Shruti took place. Then there was a time, as always is, as time flows, things decay, isn't it? Abilities become weaker. Yes or no? As we know, our hearing only becomes weaker as time goes on, isn't it? Everything becomes Doordarshan as time goes on. You have to put lenses after lenses after lenses. So everything changes, decays in time. So was this ability to grasp and to hold and also to contemplate upon, and therefore also to ascertain whether it is really true or not. So when this entire ability to capture this knowledge weakened, the great saints and sages, which is represented by our Ved Vyasji. It is very interesting. I was told that we worship Ved Vyasji as our Param Guru, isn't it? Of the Guru Parampara. And he is supposed to be the incarnation of Lord Vishnu, Narayana himself. So, but I was told that Veda Vyasa, Vyasa is not a name given to a person. Vyasa actually means one who edits. In other words, an editor. So, really speaking, now this is what I've heard, okay? This is not, don't ask me for proof and all that. So apparently there were many Ved Vyasas. It is like many editors. So you have a newspaper or a magazine, and over a time period, different editors take that position and do the work, isn't it? Your school magazine, for example. You don't have the same fellow editing one who started the magazine. So there were different teachers or different saints, rishis, who belonged to that parampara of Ved Vyasji, who helped in put all this together, compiled the whole knowledge, the Shruti, together. The Shruti is supposed to be apaurusheyam, meaning not accredited to a particular person. It is not about the person giving the knowledge. It is about the knowledge revealed. So this entire Shruti or all this knowledge was then compiled together by Ved Vyasji. For simplicity's sake, we will keep it as one person only. Our Ved Vyasji compiled this entire Shruti. And he compiled it into 4 different Vedas. 4 books. Now these 4 books we are now familiar with. as our Vedas. This is what we call our scripture. The 4 books, as we know, are Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda and Atharva Veda or Atharvana Veda. Yeah, these are the 4. Rig, Yajur, Sama, Atharva. These 4 Vedas were compiled, and in these 4 Vedas all that knowledge was segregated, categorized and presented. So this is called the Shruti, and as we commonly know it as the Vedas, right? So we've got Veda, we've got Purana and we've got Itihas. These are the 3 branches of what we call Sanatana Dharma. Only the Vedas are considered to be apaurusheyam or without authorship, right? So only the Vedas are considered that, not the Smriti or the Purana or the Itihas. So yes, that can be stories, etc. But the Veda is knowledge, pure knowledge, right? A beautiful example that was given to make us understand that how it is apaurusheyam or no authorship. Let us take a knowledge of different subject matters that we study. For example, physics, right? Now, physics as knowledge exists from as time started, isn't it? But yes, there were 1 or 2 great scientists who made certain incredible discoveries and inventions, not inventions, discoveries. And we remember those scientists, isn't it? So, for example, Newton. We remember him for his 3 laws, isn't it? Don't ask me what those 3 laws are, but anyway, there are 3 laws. I only remember one of them, action and opposite, equal and opposite reaction, because that's most commonly practiced, right? You say something to someone, you will get something back. And probably might not be equal or opposite, but it will definitely be opposite. So, but the entire knowledge of physics cannot be given credit to Newton for that. That knowledge existed always, eternally, wasn't it? It started when time started. In fact, it had to be there even before time started. Yes or no? Why? Because knowledge was there, and then only when time came, it got expressed or manifested. But that principle had to be there before, isn't it? So even before expression, it was there. Just like you are sitting here means you were there before your birth. Yes or no? What are you saying? How will I know? How can I say yes? Achha, you are here, right? You must have come from somewhere, just like you entered the ashram. You came from somewhere, right? Before you came into the ashram, you were somewhere, weren't you? Of course I was somewhere. What do you mean I was not? What kind of question is that? Exactly. If it's that simple, it is that simple. Right? So, even before manifestation, you must have existed somewhere in some form. Thank God it was unknown, but somewhere you were there. Then unfortunately you came to existence, right? And now you are manifested. And then after this manifestation is over, you will go somewhere. Just like after at 7 o'clock, I'm sure you'll go somewhere. Actually, I'm hoping you'll go somewhere, right? I can catch up on my nap. Joking. Right? So, this eternal principle, when we say it's eternal, it's timeless. This is the apaurusheyatvam or non-authorship of our Vedas. Now, another very important point. What is in this Vedas? So it is said that each Veda, as it was categorized, they were categorized on basis of certain characteristics or certain common elements. They were put together. So it is said that Rig Veda, which is supposed to be known as the most ancient Veda, was basically its main characteristic, or around which everything was put in, was the element of the earth, Prithvi. Prithvi was the main characteristic substratum for the Rig Veda. So in other words, everything that is relating to this world and its existence to earth is in the Vedas. So therefore it is said in the Rig Veda that in Rig Veda, and remember Rig Veda is the oldest, in there are mantras that talk about people traveling, leaving the shores and taking this knowledge to other places. And we are talking about eternal time here. We are not even talking about, and please, it is within this earth, right? But it is very interesting that it covers those aspects which are very uncommon. You don't hear about that. So there is travel, there is knowledge, there is the knowledge about the beings, about nature, everything. So Rig Veda, Prithvi or earth is the very substratum or the main characteristic. Yajur Veda is interspace. So in our culture, the way we have it, we have earth, interspace and Swarga. These are the three main levels. Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Suvaha. Right? We know in Gayatri Mantra also it is said. So interspace is said to be the distance between our planet Earth and heaven. Right? So if you are not on Earth and if you are not yet reached heaven, then in between is interspace. Some people stay there only for a long time. But you know, there's a lot of rush getting into heaven. So sometimes we have to spend more time in interspace than in heaven or earth. Right? So this interspace is like your home and the ashram. Interspace is your journey, what you take to get to here. Sometimes when there's traffic, you have to wait. What to do? Isn't it? So there are principles governing interspace as well. And that is covered in Yajur Veda. And it's very interesting because if you study other yogas, like if you study Raj Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga, you will find that their viewpoints and to them reality is more given to life after this physical existence. And there are different bodies and different experiences and very interesting it is. And they are practitioners of that type of yoga are basically, their goals are judged from that level, that body only. So what powers you have at that time, what you can do then, who you become as after death, etc. Those become very interesting. So that, all that knowledge of antariksham, in interspace, is you can see it practiced in those kind of yogas. Right? Is this clear? So Rig Veda is Prithvi, earth. Yajur Veda is interspace. Sama Veda is Swarga, yeah, heaven. So if you notice, Sama Veda is very lyrical. The very composition of Sama Veda is very lyrical. And it is said that in heaven there is always music, and there is that serenity, and there is that peace. Even when you see all those serials where they show heaven, it's very smoky. And there is always music playing. There has to be a sitar player. Isn't it? There is always music happening there. Why? When is there music? When there is joy, isn't it? When there is no joy, life is not a music, isn't it? It's not a song. It's a broken record. That's what happens. Same thing again and again. I'm suffering, I don't know what to do. Why is this problem not going? It's just always there. My body is hurting, my mind is hurting, this fellow is always present here. It's a broken record. There's no music in there. But when one is happy, automatically one sings. There is arts, there's different form of fine arts. So heavenly realms is where we find that the entire concept or the entire characteristic is very peaceful. So Sama Veda, and it is said, Islam, a lot of their prayers are very similar to the prayers of Sama Veda, in tune. So the morning azan that is done, I think it's called azan, right? So that morning azan that is done is a very Samavedic tune. Many prayers in Samaveda are very similar to that. When they say na, Allahu Akbar, like that. There's a very similar, close Samaveda tune to that. I was very surprised when I heard that. And it has that uplifting effect. It's very uplifting, especially at that time of the morning. It's tremendous. So Samaveda just lifts you in that sense. And the last, Atharva Veda, that Veda has its main characteristic as fire, Agni. Fire is the main principle. And therefore in Atharva Veda you will find all rituals relating to fire. So as we do, Homa, we do Homa, every temple does Homas, isn't it? And it is said in olden days, every home also there used to be home. So that was a fire ritual. So all these fire rituals that are present are based around Atharva Veda. And Atharva Veda expounds fire as the medium. Alright, is this clear? How can it be clear? Because I have not told you what are these four tattvas basically about. And why do we need to know it actually? Because really speaking, it doesn't matter to me whether fire or interspace or, what was the first one? Thank you. Prithvi or heaven. So, let us try and understand one thing. The entire aim of all the Vedas is to know that which is to be known. Any knowledge requires fulfillment. Or else what's the point of that knowledge? Isn't it? So any knowledge, like for example physics also, or chemistry or biology, if it cannot be practiced or if it cannot end as a result, then what is the point of that knowledge? Isn't it? Every knowledge requires fulfillment. So what is the point of all these Vedas? What is its fulfillment? And that is very interesting. And all the four Vedas have the same end result. What is the Vedyam Vastu? What is the thing to be known when we study Vedas? Or which is revealed in the Vedas. And that thing to be known is nothing but, any guesses?
Yourself.
Not God?
Brahman.
Everybody is very knowledgeable. Of course, Chinmaya wishing people, of course, has to be knowledgeable. So, that which is to be known is you. Who are you? And you say, hey, excuse me, I already know that. I am a fool. So, very good. Now you at least know that. But who am I? I don't know. I really don't know. It's very easy to prove this. Try and define yourself or your existence without any relation to anything else. Nothing else. Just yourself. So you say, okay, wait, that should be easy. So I'm not going to relate to my car which is parked outside. It's a really nice car. So I'm the owner of the car. Okay, I won't say that. But I'm something else. I'm so and so. Yeah, but you still take in relationship with your name. And who gave your name? My parents gave my name. Or my grandparents gave my name. Or one uncle, I don't know why, he just turned up and suggested this name. And now I'm stuck with it. He said Bittu and everybody liked it and now it is Bittu Singh. It's my name. What to do now? So, we stuck with a name. Okay, no. I gave my own name. I changed my name. From Bittu, I became Bobby. Let us say. I gave myself an own name. So it is with respect to my own name or myself and not others. Okay. Then the question is, who are you naming? So me. So who are you hitting? What do you mean, who am I hitting? My own self, me. So your name is with respect to your body? Of course, what do you mean? Of course, yes, of course. So, if your name is with respect to your body, it's still not you, right? It's with respect to something. So, what do you mean? I call this a table. Correct? This is a name given to this particular shape. Correct? Yes or no? Right. So the name is only belonging to the different shape. Now this is another shape of what? Wood only. But I don't call this a table. I call this a stage. Okay. Thank you. Right? So each name is given to a particular form. The forms are different, therefore the names are different. And it is only important to give a name because there is a different form. You don't name the child while the child is in the womb, isn't it? Or you shouldn't, because you don't know what gender it is. Or you don't even know whether it's different. But when the child becomes different from you, then you name the child. Or else what will you call it? Me. You can't call it yourself. Because now it's different from you. So whenever there is difference or variety, then only you need to name something. If there is no variety whatsoever, then do you need to name it? There is no need. Space is everywhere, right? Do you have to qualify space? No. But when you put walls within that space, and I said walls within the space, then you have to say this is hall space, this is bathroom space, this is bedroom space. Right or not? So now you have to give a name to the space that you are referring to. Because you have created a difference. Moment there is difference, there has to be a name. So now when I say this is me, I am giving a name to something that is different. Right? So this body is different from that body, therefore this body has a name. Please stop me if you don't understand. Clear? This body is different from that body, therefore this body has a name. Now do think for a second. In this body, is there any difference of you? So if I pinch you here, or I slap you here, both times you will only scream, right? Yes or no? There is no difference between you in the body. Between bodies there is difference. I and you are different, therefore I have a name. But what do you call that which is the same within your body? So the name was not given to that. The name was given to the body for reference, external reference. The name was not given to that which was the same in the body. Correct or not? So what is that fellow's name? What is that fellow's form? You say that fellow's form is the body's form, but this body's form was this puny little thing it came. Isn't it? Some grow 6 feet tall, some grow 6 feet wide. That's the only difference. Right? But that which is in the body, if it is only limited to the body, then there's a problem. There's definitely a problem, isn't it? Because the body is growing, but my thinking is also growing. There's so many other levels to me than just a physical form. So who is that me? Who is that me who is experiencing through this body? I can't tell. So what is to be known is that which is unknown firstly. So we must understand that there is something unknown about me which I don't know. That which enters the body, that which leaves the body, that which lives in the body, that which uses the body, I don't know. So then, that is the very subject matter of all the Vedas. Now, the Prithvi Tattva or the Antariksham or the Swarga or Agni, they're all the methods or the pathways through which we can understand and realize or know this. And that which is unknown, that which is to be known in the scriptures is called Brahman. So Brahma Vidya is the very subject matter of all Vedas. Right? That doesn't mean that there is no other knowledge in the Vedas. But every knowledge is there, but Brahma Vidya is the ultimate knowledge to be known. So the Vedas are classified into 4 parts. Right? So the 4 parts in the, actually it's classified into 2 main parts. One is action oriented and one is knowledge oriented. Right? So action oriented means karma based and knowledge oriented means jnana based. Right? So for example, sometimes you have to do, then only you will know. Right? Example, swimming. You watched Olympics and every swimming race on TV, and HD TV, with 3D glasses, let us say. And so they are swimming and you are also practicing while they are swimming. But you've never touched water in your life. So are you a swimmer? No, you're not a swimmer. Unless you get into the water and pass some of that to the lungs and still survive, you've not swam, isn't it? So only when you do, you know. And the other classic example is drivers. See, you are driving, but there is always another driver who drives you mad and then creates the accident and then blames you for it. We all know who they are, isn't it? Anyway, let's leave that out. I'm getting some bad stares from certain people. Anyway. Right? So when you are doing and when you are just knowing, there's 2 different things. But then even just knowing is sometimes enough, isn't it? And most of the things are like that. Most of the very important things in life, when you just know, it's enough. You don't have to do anything after that. For example, love. When you know that you love someone, do you have to prove anything more beyond that? When you know that someone loves you, do you want any more proof after that, when you know it? It's only when we don't know that we want proof. Yes or no? Every day, tell me no, what? You love me, no? Yes, I love you. You have to hear it every day because you don't know. When you know, how many parents tell their children, I mean Indian parents, tell their children, Beta, I love you. Beta, I love you. They never say it. They will never say it. But does that mean that they don't love you? Of course they do. A bit too much sometimes. Most times. Right? So when you know, you just know. And most important things in life are like that. So there's a jnana portion, when you know, the moment. I got it. That's what it is all about. And then there's the karma portion, which is, alright, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do so many things. So the karma portion has all that knowledge which is required to fulfill our desires. And the jnana portion covers all that knowledge which makes us complete. One fulfills our desires, the other makes us complete. The funny thing is, we think when we fulfill all desires, we will be complete. Which we know from our old age experience. Those who are considering themselves old will know. But otherwise, we will know when we are old that it's not true. In fact, the more desires we hold, the more empty we feel when we are old. It rhymes also. Is it? The more desires we hold, the more empty we feel when we are old. And it's true. You don't believe it? Just see. Just look around. But this is the clear distinction between the two. Karma is to fulfill desires. Jnana is to find completeness. These two sections, one is called Karma Kanda and the other is Jnana Kanda, is present in all the four Vedas. The Vedas are differentiated in another way in terms of how the mantras are written. So the Vedic mantras are written in four categories. So you have the first, which is called the mantra portion. So in this mantra portion is basically looking at, in every Veda it is there. So the mantra portion carries descriptions of beauty in nature. So there were imagine the great rishis who admired nature as it is. See, unfortunately for us, when we have desires, what we do is, when we see nature, we either want to possess it or we want to alter it, change it, isn't it? But the rishis had the ability to remain the very observer of it and enjoy its presence. And that was beautifully recorded in the mantra portion. This is very important. I know this part seems irrelevant because okay, they observed nature and they wrote something about nature. Why should we unnecessarily study it? That's what at least I used to feel about the poetry when we used to have in English. That fellow saw something unnecessarily, wrote something in complicated language, and we had to by heart it and then say it out loud to get our mark. That was my view of it, at least. It is not a common view, please. It's only when you understand a bit more later on that you start appreciating the fact that, oh wow, how did they see such beauty and put it in such, not complicated, but such subtle words or subtle ways. How did they do that? Then you appreciate it. But back then, obviously, we did not find great appreciation for it because we had to study it. And we saw no beauty in it, unfortunately, because we weren't present in their state. Because we were sitting in a classroom with 50 odd people, and a teacher was saying, "You must learn this by heart." And that's our environment where we are supposed to appreciate beauty of what the poet has seen. How can you get that? Isn't it? At least create that environment and then present the knowledge. But unfortunately, that's how it is done in mass. But why is it important for us to know the mantra portion of these Vedas? And it is as simple as this. Like we said, whenever we observe anything, we either want to possess it or alter it. Isn't it? And this is how we function with each other also. This is how we function with ourselves as well. Whenever we find happiness, we want to alter it or recreate it, isn't it? We never enjoy it. Whatever we enjoy, we record and then we try to repeat. It's never the same. This ability to remain the observer and to just enjoy that very experience needs to be there. And that is actually a sign of a mature mind. It is said that in the Himalayas, in Tibet area, there was this monastery. And they're the most beautiful places because you find the most strangest people over there. They love such simple things of life. So these the saints over there in the monastery, the monks, they were doing this intricate artwork with rice powder, colored rice powder. And they were doing this intricate artwork, and all the monks sitting there every day religiously, they used to spend almost 6 to 7 hours doing intricate artwork on the floor with this rice flour, all of them together. And while they used to do that, they used to chant their prayers. So in that monastery, one visitor had come, and he was staying there for a few months. Finally, at the end of those 2 or 3 months, the artwork was done. And they were all announced, it's almost getting done, so come and see it. So this visitor, he saw it, and he was so amazed with the intricacy, with the beauty of it. He said, this is excellent, this is tremendous, this has to be recorded. And as soon as they declared that it was done, all the monks stood on that powder and kicked it all over the place. Dispersed everything, destroyed everything. Till that point, this visitor had great respect for the monks. The moment he saw that, he thought these guys are crazy. No wonder they live, less oxygen in the brain. They've lost it. What kind of sense is this? God's gift. And now see, that's when we start talking about God's gift in front of the wise, it shows who we are, the other wise, obviously. So, God's gift you have, and you all did so much, and he never understood it. And then one of the monks just smiled, and all of them toothless smile they have. One of the monks, just elderly monks, because he was so disturbed, he kept on, troubling all of them. Nobody else said anything. He went to the head monk, he said, your students are all stupid fools, They could have actually done, you have so much repair work to do in your ashram, etc., this, that, the other, in your monastery. We could have actually, had an exhibition and called a few people. I know people, We could have done something about it. And this senior monk says, no. What they did was their spiritual practice. They were not trying to create an artwork. He says, but what kind of spiritual practice is this? He says, beauty is to be expressed, not measured. Because the beauty is coming from the Lord, and you can never measure it. So the moment they had done, that joy was complete. They didn't need anything from that work after that. Such a subtle and beautiful principle, isn't it? Moment you are done in this world, complete you should be. Not asking for more. It's very hard to do. It's extremely hard to do. But it is the right thing to do. It is the only way to live a respectable life in this world. That at the end of it, I should be done. It doesn't happen like that. So the mantra portion is that. Appreciation of beauty as is. Without wanting to change it, without wanting to possess it. The problem is we don't even appreciate beauty. We only see negativity, isn't it? That's how far we are from it. And that shows that the mind is not ready for realizing God. No matter what spiritual practice we are doing. We could be meditating for 2 hours every day for the past 15 years. It means nothing if you can't see beauty as is. True or not? Yet all of us do spiritually. We are very spiritual people. But can we appreciate beauty? Not specific beauty, anything, beauty in anything. So that is mantra portion. The Brahmana portion gives us, or the Vedas, gives us the different rituals to perform, to fulfill our desires. Simple, the mantras, what to do, who should do, how should they do, who should not do, what if you do this, what will happen, if you don't do this, what will happen, etc. All the rules and regulations. The Aranyaka portion, the third, is where we find a mind which is said, enough I've done. Now I need to figure out what's going on here. And it's the Upasana portion. Upasana means, Upa means close, near. Asana, to sit. To sit close. Close to what? Close to yourself. Instead of running around, sit down. Don't go far, stay close. Come back to center. So the Upasana or meditation practices and contemplation practices, or bring the mind back within, turning the mind inwards, in other words, is given, those methods are given in the Aranyaka portion. Aranya means forest. Aranyaka means in the forest. What to do in the forest? What to do in the forest? Obstacle course. There's some tree thing over here, no? You go there and you jump from one tree to the other, or you climb trees, and it's a big activity, right? What is it called? Tree adventures. There you go.
It's shut down.
It's shut down? Oh my God. I thought that tree adventures was something like chipmunks only, isn't it? But only for adults. So anyway, so what to do in the forest? Now, really speaking, as per our system of life given by our saints and sages, so you have the first stage of life, which is your student life. Which is actually the first stage is your childhood. So Balya Avastha, right? Child, you grow up, have fun. That's the best time of your life. Worst time for your parents, but best time for you, right? And then after that is your student life, which is Brahmachari. Yeah, that's the stage. And you learn and study. Of course, this is back in those days, right? Not today. Because today we don't learn and study. Today we enjoy our study life, right? If you go to schools, how much of it is extracurricular? Surprising. But then again, it depends on how you classify study as well. You learn everywhere. So that is the second, actually the second stage. But then after that, then you get, if you have the desire to, then you get married, and it's called Grahastha Ashrama, right? That's where you have a family, and through dharma, you exhaust your desires, right? So you only exhaust the desires which are dharmic, and the remaining you sublimate. You don't exhaust it. You get rid of it. So that process is called the Grahastha Ashram. Then at the end of Grahastha Ashram, and there is an end to it, which sometimes we don't realize, is the Vanaprastha Ashram, where you go to the forest. Now why should you go to the forest? Because people don't want to do that. We go to retirement homes, or we go to New Zealand, because that's where all the retirement options are the best. Because that's the best retired life, isn't it? So, Vanaprastha is when you leave whatever your sense of possession is, and you go into seeking. Hopefully by that time we realize, through living a dharmic life, that the ultimate goal of life is not through desires fulfillment. Hopefully we realize. When we realize, then you leave automatically. Or else you'll have to be lifted physically out. So that sense of growing and giving up of the old habits and looking within, that is seen in the Vanaprastha ashram, where the highest goal of life is sought after. So enough of dharma, artha, kama, all done. So you've got your wealth, you've enjoyed that wealth, you had your desires, you fulfilled those desires. Now, you've led a good life also. Your children are settled. Now, what about you? What next? So the highest, the moksha, is planned. Just like when you go to any journey, you always look for a return ticket, isn't it? Or you look for a stability wherever you're going. What's your destination? So whenever you take up any travel, you always say, who's going to pick me up on that side? Where am I going to stay when I'm there? You always fix that before you take on the journey, isn't it? Yes, sir? Generally, most. That's called a well-planned journey. Of course, there are those who just go and they say, I don't even know this place. Not that type, but we always plan our destination. Then only that journey is complete. Or how do you know it's complete? So in the same way, in our life, we've entered this body. But where is the journey complete? If you don't know the exit point. If you don't realize why did you come into this body in the first place. If you don't understand that. Or else what happens? ... Continue the next life. Isn't it? So that is the purpose of Vanaprastha ashram, where we find out exactly what was the point of all this. And the last is sannyasa ashram. When you realize, I got it. That is sannyasa ashram, complete renunciation. So the aranyaka portion or upasana portion is where we find specifically what to do in that Vanaprastha ashram. At the same time, what are the things to be done before that will prepare you towards Vanaprastha? So you're not suddenly one day you wake up when everybody's settled and you say, I'm ready for it. No, you're not. Isn't it? And great kings of the past, we've seen even kings and queens who used to live in luxury. But they were always aware of this third stage of their life and beyond. And they used to immediately let go. And they used to have so much of possessions with them. So much of luxury. We have paltry little possessions compared to them. And that also we can't let go. Isn't it? They never sat and wrote wills. Yeah, I'm letting go. Whoever wants it takes it. Simple. Whoever is fit will take it. Even if you give it to your son, but if he is not fit, somebody else will conquer them and take it from them. What big difference it made. So, they used to just go. That amount of preparation they had throughout the time they were in luxury as well. So that is in the Aranyaka portion. And the Upanishads is the final culmination of everything. In these Upanishads is that knowledge which is indescribable. That knowledge which leads us to experience. So this is the 4 mantra, then Brahmana, then Aranyaka and Upanishad. These are the 4 aspects that are there in all the 4 Vedas. Yeah? So this is the background today I have given you of Upanishads. That it is Shruti, it is Aupaurasheyam, it is revealing that knowledge which is to be known, it is to be experienced. It's classified into 4 Vedas. Each Veda have their own tattva, their own characteristic, and these Vedas are classified into Jnana and Karma. Karma fulfilling desires, Jnana taking us to completeness. There is a mantra, Brahmana, Aranyaka and the Upanishads. The Upanishads is where the Jnana is shown, revealed. It's where all the discussions between the student and the teacher are seen. Right? Kaivalya Upanishad is one of the Upanishads from Atharva Veda, the fourth Veda. So it's called the Agni Tattva. So we'll see that from tomorrow onwards. It's very beautiful, very, very beautiful. We'll see that from tomorrow. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Please try and come by 6 so that we'll start at 6, but then it's better when everybody is already seated. But of course, if you do happen to be a bit late, don't worry, come in. Don't stand out or do not come because, oh, I'm 5 minutes late. But try to see if you can come. That's it.